it's over. After months of non-payment, numerous uncomfortable conversations with your tenants, and a costly eviction proceeding, you finally got your tenants to leave. So now what? Your property is trashed. You're never going to see the back rent you are owed. And now you have to spend thousands of dollars more on costly renovations. So what can you do differently going forward? How can you prevent this from happening again? Well, assuming you're not yet ready to quit and put your property on the market, the answer is you need to pick better tenants. The way you do that is by screening your applicants better. It's not a perfect answer. It won't always work. But if you don't try, situations like this are going to happen to you again. If you're interested in learning how I screen my tenants, keep watching and I will share with you one of my favorite online platforms for doing so. Coming up. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that cinematic introduction. I'm trying to do something different on my channel, just practicing, learning different techniques. And if you guys like that style and if you like that editing, just let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in seeing more videos like this, utilizing this type of editing and this style, let me know and I will try to do that in the near future. But hey, if we're just meeting, my name is Vitaly Volpov. I'm a practicing attorney, an active real estate investor, and a part owner of a real estate brokerage in upstate New York. On this channel, I discuss relevant legal concepts as well as best strategies and tips for real estate investing and personal finance. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that YouTube notifies you of all my future content. If you enjoy the content in this video, hit the like button and comment down below. And as always, whenever I'm discussing legal or financial topics, just remember, nothing that I say in this video should be construed as legal or financial advice. I provide this information for educational and entertainment purposes only, and you should always consult with your own attorney and your own advisor before making any legal or financial decisions. Last but not least, the views and opinions that I express in this video are my own alone and don't necessarily reflect those of my law firm or any of my business partners. So with that out of the way, let's get into the tutorial. All right, so the site that I like to use is called RentPrep.com. And this site has been around for quite some time. They're actually located near Buffalo, New York. They are a national site, so they offer their services all across the country, and they've been around for quite some time. So what you're looking at here is their main website. This is where you would start out if you were looking to sign up, get a free account, and then start screening your tenants. So in order to set up an account, you would just click on Get Started, and you would fill out your information, and then it will take you to your dashboard, which will look something like this. So here I just want to show you guys how to place an order and show you guys the different options that they have for the screening of tenants, as well as the reports that you would get with this service. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Place New Order, and that's going to take us to this screen. And so what you see here is that you have two different options for two different types of reports that you can get. The first one is called a SmartMove Full Credit Report, which costs $38. And the second one is a RentPrep Background Check report. Now, there are a couple of differences and a couple of different features that come with both of them, and one might be more appropriate than the other depending on your specific situation. And so I'm going to go through each of them and explain the benefits and the drawbacks of each one, and then I'll submit a mock order with each of them, and then we can look at the different reports that you would get. So first, I want to highlight this one right here, which is the RentPrep Background Check, which is the basic one that they offer. Now, what you get with this basic report is the Social Security number verification, an address history verification, a nationwide eviction search, a bankruptcy search, and also a judgment and lien search. Now, additional things you can ask for are nationwide criminal and sex offender search, which costs an additional $4, and you can also request a credit decision report. Now, you won't get the actual credit score of your applicant with the credit decision report. What the credit decision report will show you, however, is where your applicant falls in terms of ranges of different credit scores. And it will also tell you what is impacting your applicant's credit score. I'll get into more of what that looks like when we get to that part. And the other add-on that I want to mention is the income verification add-on for an additional $10. Now, this credit report option does not require any involvement from your tenant unless you select the income verification add-on. Most people do their own income verification, although I think that RentPrep's income verification is actually pretty robust, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to, and you can simply just do the regular background check as well as the nationwide criminal and sex offender search, and I also recommend doing a credit decision report at the very least. Now, the other option, the SmartMove Full Credit Report, will give you the full credit report for your applicant. It will give you the credit score, and the credit report will show you all the different credit lines that they have open, all the collections, and so forth. Now, the only caveat with this is that your applicant will need to participate in the process and respond to an email from RentPrep and input various information that RentPrep will need in order to run their credit report. So the items included in this report are the full credit report with the resident score, social security number verification and address history, nationwide criminal and sex offender search, nationwide evictions, and nationwide bankruptcies. Now, the cool part about this report is that you can actually have your applicant pay to RentPrep directly. So you don't need to collect any application fees from your applicant. They can actually pay that to RentPrep and pay for their own background check. Now, there are some caveats to this. It is restricted in certain states. New York, for example, does not allow you to charge any more than $20 from your tenants. And so RentPrep has disabled that feature for New York residents and New York landlords. But you can still run this report and pay for it yourself and just collect the amount that you're able to collect from your applicant, which, like I said, in New York is a maximum of $20. The other limitation with this is that in a few states, you're not able to get the nationwide criminal search with this report. And those states include Colorado, Delaware, Hawaii, Kentucky, Massachusetts, North Carolina, South Dakota, Utah, Wyoming, and Washington, D.C. And this is due to state laws that are in effect in those states. In all other states, though, you can get the full report and you can also make your tenant pay for it. As with the other RentPrep background check, you can also request to add on judgments and liens for an additional $4.95, and you can also add on the income verification search for an additional $10. Now, you may be wondering why there's an additional charge for judgments and liens when you're getting a full credit report that you would normally get with a credit reporting agency. And this is because in 2017, several credit reporting agencies got together and they basically decided that they will not include judgments and liens in standard credit reports, even the full ones, because of the inaccuracies that exist with those types of liens and judgments across the country. So now if you were to get a credit report somewhere else, on most commercial sites that provide credit reports, they will not include judgments and liens, even though those judgments and liens may in fact exist on this particular applicant's report. What RentPrep does differently than other credit and background check sites is they actually have dedicated staff on hand who, in addition to obtaining the credit report for you, will also do a separate judgment and lien search, which normally would not be included in the credit report. And the cool thing with that is that if your tenants have any judgments or liens against them, like, for example, tax liens, they will be able to find those and they will provide you with that information. And knowing whether your applicants have judgments or liens against them somewhere is certainly important information in deciding whether or not those applicants are going to be good tenants. Again, this is something that in most states, in most cases, you should be able to charge back to the applicant and require them to pay directly to RentPrep. So let's go ahead and submit 2 report orders, and I will show you guys what those reports look like. Let's start with the RentPrep background check first. And we're going to put in some made-up information for a made-up applicant. To the next page. And this is where you get to choose whether or not you want a criminal search, which will include the sex offender search and homeland security search. I usually select that. And if you want an income verification search, you can select that there. I usually don't do that, but there's definitely merit to doing it. It is an additional cost, but RentPrep has a pretty cool way of determining whether or not someone is telling you the truth about how much income they actually make, because it involves the tenant providing their bank information to the service that RentPrep uses for this purpose. And basically, the service will do a net income summary report, which will show you how much a tenant is bringing home every single month. Again, I don't usually select this option, but it is becoming fairly prevalent for applicants to provide doctored pay stubs where they simply change something with Photoshop or even on their phone after taking a picture of their actual pay stub. So it's fairly easy to falsify that information, but if you use the income verification tool, they won't be able to do that because that information would be pulled automatically from their bank account. So with that, let's go on to the next page. And this is where it will ask you whether you want a credit search done. And once you do click on that, RentPrep will ask you for a minimum baseline score that you want your applicants to have, and it will basically give you a pass or fail type of a mark for each applicant. So as RentPrep says, average renter score is typically around 650. So I usually select 650. You can certainly go lower if you wanted to, depending on your location, depending on the type of property and the types of tenants that you're getting. Maybe it would make sense for you to go lower or higher. But typically I select 650, and that's what I'll do in this case. If you're doing this for the first time, what RentPrep will ask you for will be some additional information to verify your identity as a landlord. So those things will include your government issued ID, which is your driver's license or your passport, a copy of a completed tenant application, and I'm going to do a separate video on how important it is to have a tenant application and what information you should be asking your tenant for in that application. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to put a link to it in the description below once I post that video, and also in the YouTube card above. So a completed tenant application, and then also a copy of a document that confirms you own the residential property. So something like a tax bill or a deed that shows that you actually own the property. And if you're a property manager or an agent or a broker, you would need a copy of a document that confirms that you manage the residential property at issue. So after you put that information in, you just click on Next. And here's where you're going to confirm that all the information that you entered is correct. And assuming that it is, you're going to click on Add to Cart and then click Checkout. And this is where you can enter your payment information. I'm obviously not going to submit this order because it is a fake order. I'm just doing this for the purposes of this video, but I do want to show you guys what the final RentPrep background check report will look like. So this is what the RentPrep background check report looks like, and I'm actually going to zoom in for you guys so you can see it a little bit better on your screen. And it has pretty much all the information that you need except for credit information, which will be on a separate credit report, which I'll show you next. But basically, you're going to have the applicant's information. Again, this is a fake report. This is not an actual person. This is something that RentPrep provides as a sample. So this is Hank Mess. You have a social security number, date of birth, address information, and then identity verification, which it does show you all of their prior addresses where there is public information available on where they lived for the last several years. It also gives you the results for their nationwide criminal and sex offender search. In this case, this individual had some offenses. You can see that he was incarcerated in Florida. He was also charged with possession of cocaine, which is a felony there, and quite a mess of other charges here as well. Additionally, there's also an eviction record here, which shows that he was evicted from the Sunshine Mobile Home Park and that there was a judgment issued against him. Hank is clearly quite the character, as he has quite a few other eviction and judgments against him. So that's the background report if you choose this option. And this is the RentPrep credit decision report that I mentioned earlier. And here it shows you what this applicant's rating would be. So presumably you selected 650 as the baseline credit score, and this returned a result somewhere below 550. So they would be declined under the criteria that you put in, and their rating is certainly bad. And here below the rating, it actually shows you what is affecting their credit score. So in this case, it's time since delinquency being too recent or unknown, length of time accounts have been established, lack of recent revolving account information, and also serious delinquency in public record or collections on file. So that's what you would get if you selected the RentPrep background check report. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and we're just going to start a completely new report. And let's select the SmartMove Full Credit Report. So if this is the first time you're actually submitting a report, what you will need to do is create a new property. If you already have a property on file, then you would just simply click on the drop-down menu and you would select one of the properties that you have on file. But if you just sign up for this service, you would need to create a new property. And this is pretty simple. It's not very difficult to do. There are only two parts to this. Basically, you would just enter the property information here, and the next screen would require you to put in some of your information. I'm not going to go through that because, again, it's pretty self-explanatory, and I already have a couple of properties input here, so we can just go ahead and select one of those. So I'm going to go ahead and select Main Street in Albany. And I just wanted to show what happens if you select an address in New York for my viewers in New York. And what you will see is a pop-up that says basically that no landlord of a residential premises can refuse to rent or offer a lease to a potential tenant on the basis that the potential tenant was involved in a past or pending landlord-tenant action or summary proceeding. And this is because that is the new law in New York. Landlords are not able to screen their tenants in New York for prior evictions or prior eviction proceedings. This is something that was changed in July of 2019. I actually did a video on this as my very first video on this channel back then, where I talked about this change to the law. This is very unfortunate for landlords in New York, and sites like RentPrep have to comply with the law and restrict the information that you can get with regard to evictions. The other unfortunate restriction for landlords in New York is that you cannot require your applicants to pay for this report. And this is because New York law prohibits any fees charged to applicants over and above $20. So again, I'm just showing this to you guys because it is a restriction with this service for New York landlords. Now, if we switch to any other state, and I have a dummy property in Miami, Florida, that restriction goes away and you can get the full credit report and background check, which will include evictions, as well as you can have your applicant pay for this report directly. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed with this Miami property, and we're just going to make up an email address for our dummy tenant. Next. And here it asks you whether you want to decline applicants if they have open bankruptcies. I generally don't click on this. I want to see the full application. I don't want to just automatically decline someone. So I want to see if they have bankruptcies, and then I can make a decision. So I'm not going to select that box, and I'm just going to click next. And this is where we're asked whether we want to add on any additional services. So I'm definitely going to select the judgment and lien search. And again, I'm going to leave the income verification box unchecked. Click next. And we're going to verify the information that we provided. And then we're going to click on Add to Cart. And finally, we'll have the opportunity to make the selection of whether or not the renter will pay for this report or we will pay for this report. Again, this option will not be available to you if you're in New York, but if you're in any other state, you will be able to select that renter will pay for this report. Once you make your selection, you will just click on Next, and then an email will be automatically sent to your applicant asking them to input some additional information and run the report. So just so you guys can see, the SmartMove credit report looks like this. You will see an actual credit score for your applicant. Also, you can see all the different trade lines. There are 13 of them in this report, showing you how late they are, what payments they missed and when. Also shows you with whom they have credit lines or loans, and other pertinent information. And here you can see the different collections. There are 7 of those. You can see who the collection agency is, who the creditor is, what type of a debt this is, and how much is owed. You can also see any consumer statements that this applicant had submitted to credit bureaus, maybe challenging some of their credit history. But in this case, there aren't any. But if there were, it would be located here. And then you can also see their inquiries. And this is credit inquiries that they have on their credit report, meaning that they are shopping around for credit, or maybe they applied for an apartment somewhere else. You might see that there is a hit for that, or maybe they're shopping and trying to get a new car or something like that. You would also see that there are inquiries for that as well. Finally, there are public records and eviction records, if any, and there are also some criminal records. And in this particular case, we have a guy who apparently was convicted of armed robbery from a jet ski, which in Kane County is apparently a Class 2 felony. I thought that this was actually kind of funny, especially since RentPrep staff had to make this up, since this is not a real person. They definitely seem to have a bit of a sense of humor. So that's what a report would look like if you selected the SmartMove credit report. Like I said, I think RentPrep provides you with exceptional information and really good reports for making your decision on whether or not to rent to a particular applicant. And if you're interested in their service and would like to try them out, I'm going to put a link to their website in the description below. Now, this is an affiliate link, so I will get a small commission anytime you end up using the service at no extra cost to you or your applicants. And you certainly don't have to sign up using my link, but if you do, it will help me make future videos like this. One last thing that I want to show you before I finish this video is that on their main website, they have some pretty cool resources that you can access even without signing up for a free account. If you go to Resources tab and click on that, it will take you to this page where if you scroll to the bottom, you will see that there is a free landlord starter kit. All you have to do is click on the Get the Free Forms tab, put in your name, your email address, and they will send you all of these forms for free. Now, if you wanted to get the full bundle of 60 plus commonly used landlord forms, you can go ahead, click on the Buy the Form bundle, and purchase them here. They got some really cool forms, all different kinds. You guys can check those out. Obviously, you want to make sure that the forms are going to be compliant with your state. It may or may not be the case that this will be fully compliant with every state, which of course is why I say you need to have a real estate attorney on your side who can review those forms for you. But this could be a good starting point for you if you don't have any forms that you're currently working with. So with all that said, guys, that's going to do it for this video today. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. I hope that you found rentprep.com useful and that you will give them a chance and try them out. And like I said, I'm going to do another video in the very near future talking about what you should be asking your applicants on your rental application. Until then, have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.